1879 to 1955 is regarded as the greatest physicist since Newton. In the following extract from The Young Einstein, the well-known biographer Patrick Pringle describes the circumstances which led to Albert Einstein's expulsion from German school. Now here the chapter says that number of things the chapter is describing. Number one, that he was a great scientist after Newton. He was a great scientist after Newton. Second thing, this introduction says that this chapter is taken from the book The Young Einstein, the well-known biographer Patrick Pringle. Patrick Pringle's book Young Einstein, from that the chapter has been taken, and the chapter describes the situations that made the school put Einstein out. Expulsion means rusticating him, putting him out of the school. So here we are with the chapter. In what years Einstein asked the history teacher, did Prussian defeat the French at Waterloo? In what year? Here the very important thing is the complete sentence is divided into two parts. The complete sentence is divided into two parts, and this is something happens in books. The writer writes the way he wants, right? So this sentence is in two parts. The complete sentence is, in what year did the Prussian defeat the French at Waterloo? This was the question, and because the question is asked to Einstein, so Einstein's name is written. The question is asked by the history teacher. That's the reason it is mentioned in between the dialogue that it is asked by history teacher. It is said to Einstein, and the question is, in what year did the Prussian defeat the French at Waterloo? One more important thing I wish to share here with you. The French means French people. The French means French people. French is a language, but when we use the before it, it becomes the people. It shows the people, the at Waterloo. So this is the question, that when did the French defeat Prussian? I don't know, sir. Why don't you know? You have been told it often enough. Again, the question is, why? Why don't you know this answer? So the child answers, I must have forgotten. Did you ever try to learn? The teacher asked. Now, read the conversation between the teacher and the students. How clear conversation this is. Teacher knows well about her student. Teacher knows well. Anji Tanu, bolo beta. Tanu, what do you want to say, bache? Hold on, एक second. Oh. Tanu, what do you want to ask, beta? Unmute yourself and ask. Or message me what do you want to say. Okay, this is a very clear, transparent conversation between teacher and student. The student says that I don't remember, but the teacher knows well whether the student pay attention to his subject or not, whether the student learns his subject or not. So he says, did you ever try to learn it? क्या तुमने कभी कोशिश की इसे सीखने की? No, sir, Albert replied with his usual unthinking honesty. Now this sentence says that Albert remained always honest. Albert used to speak transparently, clearly, without thinking. Whatever goes in his heart, he speaks that. Albert replies with his usual unthinking honesty. Why not? The teacher again asks, why not? I can't see any point in learning dates. The teacher, to the question to the teacher, he says that he has no interest to learning in the dates. One can always look them up in a book, and it is easy to find dates in a book. So there is no reason to learn the date. Mr. Brown was speechless for a few minutes. You amaze me, Einstein, he said at last. Don't you realize that one can always look most things up in books? That applies to all the facts you learn at school. So again, teacher says, whatever you say, Vansh, are you there? Vansh, are you there? The teacher again says that it is not only the dates, you can find everything in the books, but again, that applies to all the facts you learn at school. Yes, sir, this is true. Then I suppose you don't see any point in learning facts, so you should not learn the facts also. Frankly, sir, I don't, said Albert. Then you don't believe in education at all. The second question is that there is no reason for the education also. Okay, fine. If anyone has any query, you can raise hand. I'll unmute you so that we can, and then you will be able to ask your questions. If you have any query, either message me or raise your hand. Frankly, sir, I don't. Then you don't believe in education. So then the teacher says that there is no purpose of education according to you. Oh, yes, sir, I do. I don't think learning fact is education, but according to me, education doesn't mean learning facts. What does it mean according to him? In that case, said the history teacher, with heavy sarcasm, by making fun of the way he is speaking with a heavy sarcasm, the teacher says, perhaps you will be so kind as to tell the class Einstein theory of education. The teacher asked him the theory of education, what he believed. Einstein theory of education, what you believe the education should be. Albert flushed. Albert explained, I think it's not fact that matters, but ideas. According to Albert, it is not fact, but ideas that matters. I don't see the point in learning the dates of battle. He doesn't believe that he should remember what were the dates of battles. I don't see the point. He doesn't believe to learn the dates of battle or even which of the armies killed more men. He doesn't bother that which army killed more people. I'd be more interested in learning why those soldiers were trying to kill each other. But he wanted to know why were people interested in killing others, what were the reasons behind the hatred they have in their hearts. What made them killing others? This is what he wants to know. That's enough. Mr. Brown's eyes were cold and cruel. Now his teacher gets annoyed and angry. We don't want a lecture from you, Einstein. He says that I am not interested to listen to a lecture of yours. You will stay in for an extra period. He asked the child to stay there for one more period. Although I don't imagine it will do much good, it won't do the school any good either. But you are a disgrace. I don't know why you continue to come. This is a common conversation between a teacher and student. This goes in this way only. The teacher says, if I will keep you here for one more period, it won't work anything. Because you're not going to do anything in this subject if I keep you here for one more period. He says that neither you are good and nor it will do good for the school. Natul said, neither you will be helped nor the school. In this way, neither you will be helped nor the school. He calls Albert a disgrace for the school. It's not something good for the school. And he is annoyed that why the school allows the child to continue here. It's not my wish, sir. Albert says, I'm here not because of I want. Then you are an ungrateful boy and ought to be ashamed of yourself. I suggest you ask your father to take you away. Now here he says that if you have this attitude for the school, if you don't want to come to school, then you should ask your parents. You should be ashamed. First thing is you should be ashamed of yourself. You should do whatever you are told to do. If you're not doing, you should be ashamed of yourself. Second thing, you should ask your father to take you away. Shall I stop teaching? Again, you started playing with the screen. So then he says that you should ask your parents to leave this, to take you out from the school. Albert felt miserable when he left school that afternoon. He was so upset, so sad that day. Albert was so upset, so sad that day when he left, when he went back home. Not that it had been a bad day. Most days were bad now anyway. But because he had to go back to the hateful place the next morning. He was not upset because the school was bad. He was not upset because the day went bad, but he was upset because next day also he had to continue at the same place. अगले दिन फिर उसे उसी जगह पर जाना पड़ेगा पढ़ने के लिए. The only wished he only wished his father would take him away, but there was no point in even asking. He wanted to ask his father to take him away, but his father doesn't listen to him. So he says there is no point in even asking. He knew what the answer would be. He would have to stay until he had taken his diploma. So his father's common answer was that until he completes his diploma, he had to study at that place. He cannot leave the school. Going back to his lodging did not cheer him. Again, the place he lived after school was not good for him. So he said that going to that place doesn't cheer him, doesn't make him happy. His father had so little money to spare that Albert had been found a room in the one of poorest quarters in Munich. So here we get to know where does he live? He lives in Munich. So here the writer says that his father didn't have as much money so that he can find a house, find a place to live in a good society. He was living in one of the poorest quarters. He was living in one of the poorest quarters in Munich. He didn't have as much money to have a good house in a good society. He did not mind the bad food and lack of comfort. Now, what are the problems in living here in this lodging? Food never bothered Albert. Lack of comfort do not bother Albert. The problem he faces is even the dirt and squalor, but he hated the atmosphere of slum violence. This is the second point. This is the second time we are told about Albert that he loves peace. First time, he didn't have any interest in knowing about the battles, but he had interest to know why the people are killing others. Second is he didn't like the slum violence. He can bear anything, dirt, lack of comfort, bad food, but he couldn't bear slum violence. What type of slum violence goes there? His landlady beat her children regularly, and every Saturday her husband came drunk and beat her. This sentence is quite important. This sentence is quite important. Why this sentence is quite important? Because such type of mistake we do here. His landlady here refers to Albert. His landlady is referred to Albert. Albert's landlady beat her children. Whose children? The landlady's children. Very common mistake we do in using pronouns. So here, very important thing I'm going to discuss. It is his landlady, means Albert's landlady, beat her children, Albert's landlady's children, regularly every Saturday. Now, this is the habit of the landlady to beat her children. Which landlady? The Albert's landlady. And every Saturday her husband comes. Whose husband comes? Landlady's husband came and drunk. He used to drink and beat her. So this was the violence in the house. Regular tasks by the landlady, and on Saturdays her husband beat her. But at least you have a room of your own. Now someone is talking to Albert. Here someone is talking to Albert. The person says, at least you have room of your own. That then I can say, which is more than I can say. And this is something important, that you have your own room. Said Yuri. Yuri is the friend of Albert Einstein when he called rough around in the evening. Now Albert called his friend Yuri at his place and discussed. This is quite obvious. Whenever we have such problems, we used to discuss these things with some of our acquaintances, some of our known people. So this is what happens. He discussed the problem with his friend, and his friend answers him that it is good that you have your own room. At least you live among civilized human beings, even if they are all poor students. Now here Albert says, no, my place is not good. Wherever you live, that is better, because people in your surrounding are civilized. They are educated. Even if they are poor, but they are educated. So what Yuri says, they are not all civilized. The people you believe to be civilized, they are not civilized. Civilized means mannered. They are not mannered people. Yuri replied, did you not hear that one of them was killed last week in a duel? You are calling them civilized, but even then in my hostel, there went some fights, and even a boy was killed. This is what Yuri says, that there was a duel. Duel means quarrel between two. There went a quarrel between two, and that time a boy was killed by another. And what happened to the one who killed him? So Albert asks, what happened to the boy who killed the other one? Nothing, of course. The answer of Yuri is nothing, of course. He is even proud of it. The boy who killed the other one, he felt proud that he killed the other. His only worry is that the authorities have told him not to fight any more duels. What bothered the boy who killed the another one? Authorities forbade him, stopped him to have any other duel, have any fight anymore. He is upset about this. because he hasn't a single scar on his face to wear for the rest of his life as a badge of honor. Very important part is this one. If there was a duel between two, दो लोग के बीच में, if there was a fight between two, there was a वो दो लोग के बीच में कोई झगड़ा था, so the other boy believed there should remain a scar, any sign, any mark should be there on his body, so that, and that mark he wanted to wear for the whole life. It is not the mark. Gurneet, recording Abhinay. So here this line is very important, that there was fight between two, and one of the boy was killed. The other boy wanted to have a mark on his face or body, and that mark is called badge of honor. He wanted to say that if he killed another boy, that is something proud, and he wanted to wear the mark on his body for the whole life, so that he can say this something, this type of task was done by him. Oh, exclaim. Oh, explained Albert. And these are the students. Here Albert says, okay, these type of students live in the hostel. Well, you will be a student one day. So Yuri says, you also be a student one day. Albert said, no, I won't be that type of student. I doubt it. He says, I doubt it. I'm not sure that I'll be that type of student one day, said Albert glumly. Sadly, he said, I won't be that type of student one day. I don't think I'll ever pass the exam for the school diploma. He says, I'm unable to pass the school. I'm unable to complete the class. I'm unable to get the certificate. Diploma here means certificate. I'm unable to get the certificate for the class we've done. He told his cousin Elsa the same next time she came to Munich. Now, first he shared everything with his friend Yuri. Second, he shared everything with his cousin Elsa when she came to Munich. Normally, she lived in Berlin, where her father had a business. This thing is told about Elsa. Elsa lives in Berlin. Her father had a business, but she came to meet Albert in Munich, and then Albert told everything to Elsa. Now here goes the conversation between Albert and Elsa. I'm sure you couldn't learn enough to pass exam. You could learn enough to pass exam, Albert, if you tried. Now what she suggests, that it is not tough to clear the exam. You are saying that you are unable to clear the exam, but this is not tough. You try it, you can do it. I know lots of boys who are much more stupid than you are, who get through. So she says, your IQ is good. You are a good student. I know many of them who are not good at studies, but even then they completed the diploma. They say you don't have to know anything. You don't have to understand what you are taught. Just be able to repeat in the exams. Now she talks about the students who have cleared the diploma. She says that according to those students, you needn't understand anything. You just need to learn and repeat it in the exam. You just need to learn and repeat it in the exam. And this is what Albert doesn't like. That's the whole trouble, Albert. Albert said, I am no good at learning things by heart. I agree to what you say, that you have to learn and write them in exam, but I am not good at learning. I cannot learn the things well. This is the trouble. I feel that I cannot be able to complete the diploma. You don't need to be good at it. Anyone can learn like a parrot. So Elsa says, there's nothing to be good at. Learning is not a big task. You needn't to, be good at it. You just need to learn and say. Anyone can do it. You just don't try. आप इसके लिए you do not try. This is the reason you feel so. And yet I always see you with the book under your arm, added Elsa. What is the one you are reading? You are saying you are not interested in learning, but you always carry means you are very interested in reading. You always carry a book with you, and you are saying you are not interested in learning. So a book. So she asked, which book do you carry with you? The answer is a book on geology. Geology, rocks and things. Do you learn that? No, we have hardly any science at school. So she wants to know that you are reading a book of geology. Is it a part of your learning? He says, no, we do not have sciences at school. Then why are you studying it? Because I like it. Isn't that good enough reason? Elsa sighed. Now, one more thing we get to know with it, that they didn't have science in their schools. According to ancient pattern of learning, they didn't have sciences in their school. So sciences, Albert liked to study. He carried a book, but still books were there on sciences. So he carried a book. He wanted to learn sciences, and he carried the book because he likes to read the book. So Elsa sighed here. Till here, I have read the chapter. Now reading is over, explanation is over. I want you to come out with your queries. स्टूडेंट के साथ कनेक्ट कर लो. Now, if anyone of you have any doubt, you can discuss that with me, whatever we have read about. Unmute.